Hi, I'm Erin with Me Time. I'm really excited to talk to you today about perfectly pieced and Kimberbell's clear blue tiles. The clear blue tile system really will change the way you quilt, allowing you to get an overall quilting effect on just about any project you choose to make. Similar to what you would get with sending your project to a long arm machine, only now you can do it in your home on your home embroidery machine. As an overview of Perfectly Pieced, if you're not already a subscriber, each month you'll receive a unique quilt block, which will be pieced completely in the hoop, with perfect corners, perfect points, and perfect 1/4 inch seam allowances. You'll get that block in 4 finished sizes, a 2 inch, a 4 inch, a 6 inch, and an 8 inch. In addition to the block itself, you're going to receive 2 different types of quilting methods to quilt your projects. First is a custom block by block quilting design, and that's going to come right on the perfectly pieced block. In fact, when you choose your file to stitch your block, you're going to choose either the plain block by itself, or you're going to choose the block with the quilting as the final step. And those files are going to have a -Q at the end of the file name. The second type of quilting you'll receive with your perfectly pieced download is all over quilting. This is going to come in its own file folder, and it actually comes with 2 types. You can use it for block by block quilting method, but we're going to talk about using it for all over quilting with Kimberbell's clear blue tiles. As a home quilter and embroiderer, I know how frustrating it is to get to the end of your project and then have to send it off to a long armor to finish it off. With Perfectly Pieced, we wanted to create a program where you can finish any project from the very beginning to the very end, all at home on your embroidery machine. In your first doorstep delivery of Perfectly Pieced, you will receive 2 sample clear blue tiles. First of all, you got a 4x6 finished block size and a 6x10 finished block size. That's just to make sure if you have a smaller hoop, you can do this system too. Now the files in your digital delivery are going to correspond with the tiles. So you're going to want the 4x6 block file name for this one, and you're going to want the 6x10 block file name for this one. Now when you are using clear blue tiles, it's really as simple as place, mark, and quilt. When you're ready to start quilting your project, you're going to create a quilt sandwich. That's where you take your top, your batting, and your backing piece. Now to use the clear blue tile system, you want to make sure your backing piece is 3 inches wider on all sides. And that's just to make sure that when you hoop it and you get towards the edges, you have something for the hoop to grab onto. So 3 inches wider on all sizes. Then you're always going to start with the largest tile that fits in your hoop, and you're going to start in the center of your project. So I'm going to assume that I have a big enough hoop for the 6x10 tile. Now just to clarify, a 6x10 tile probably won't fit in a 6x10 hoop because your 6x10 hoop has a smaller embroidery field than 6x10. In fact, they're usually about 5.5 by 9.5 or something like that. And so you want to make sure that your hoop is going to fit your tile. So I'm going to start with my 6x10 tile, and I'm going to put it roughly in the center of my block. It doesn't have to be exact. Let's put it right here. And then I'm going to use my marking pen. Every single part of this tile is really important to making sure that you're successful. First of all, you have your center dot, and this marks not only the center of the tile, but the center of the quilting design. You want to make sure you mark that center. Then you have your crosshairs here. And this also marks the center of your hoop and the center of your design. They're going to line up with the crosshairs in your hoop. Then you have this little window here, and that's where you're going to put in the size of the block, this exact block I'm using. So I'm using the 6x10 finished block, so I'm going to write 6x10 in my little window. So I make sure I pull up the right file and use the right file when I'm quilting this portion. Then I have these markings. You're going to see these blue lines around the edge of the tile. You want to mark all of those spots. The reason this is important is because you need to know where to line up your next tile. Okay, so now this tile is ready for me to quilt. The arrow indicates where the top of the hoop is. So when I use this project, when I hoop it, I'm going to want to make sure that my hoop lines up with this tile, with the top of the hoop, the arrow pointing to the top of the hoop, and the crosshairs lining up with the crosshairs in my hoop. Okay, once I've marked my first tile, I can go ahead and keep expanding out. So now I can place my next tile. And I can line it up exactly if I want to. See why these lines were important here? I know exactly where I want to bump up this next tile, right next to it, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mark it again. Mark my center dot. Here's my crosshairs. Make sure you get that arrow pointing up. And then I'm gonna write 6 by 10 again, okay? Now, again, if you have the clear blue tiles, you're gonna have a whole bunch of tiles to choose from. We're just gonna use these 2 right now. So I can actually use this small one too. I can put it right here. Do you see how I can continue to just place these tiles as if they're stencils or stamps? And I can just piece wherever I want this to go. I can turn this upside down. Then I can, once I mark this, I can go ahead and place this here. And you see also now why I need this extra 3 inches on all sides of my backing piece, because once I hoop, if I have this one right here and I need to hoop it, I'm gonna need to have something for this hoop to grab onto. So I'm gonna need this backing piece that goes over here. But it's okay if the quilting goes right off the top of the project. It's not gonna make any difference. Again, we want this to look all over without any seams going right off the edge of the project. So I'm gonna just continue placing and marking. Let's go ahead and do this one. Put my arrow pointing up, that dot right in the center. For me, when I do it, that dot right in the center is the most important part. That's where I'm gonna want my needle to drop down, and I know that I'm in the right place. And I've got 4 by 6. So again, I would continue to take my tiles and mark all over my project. And then I'm ready to stitch. It's really that easy. So because I decided to start, we always want to start in the middle, and I used a 6 by 10, I'm going to load the embroidery file for the 6 by 10 all over quilting onto my embroidery machine. Then I'm going to hoop it. So I'm going to put the back of my hoop underneath the project. And again, you can pin this, you can use a basting spray. Make sure if you pin that you take the pins out before you start stitching. And this does take a little bit of finagling, okay? So here I've got my crosshairs. Here's my lines. I want to make sure that they line up with my vertical line, and these side markings line up here. So now I'm going to have to fiddle a little bit with the back of my hoop. Okay, I've got it hooped. I'm going to tighten it nice and tight. Now this is a pretty small project, right? This is just our 18 by 18 table topper, one of the featured projects in Perfectly Pieced. So I don't have a lot of excess fabric to work with. But if I was doing a lap quilt or something, I would have a lot of excess fabric. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll this up. If you purchase the clear blue tile product from Kimberbell, it comes with slap bands that you can slap right here. Otherwise, you could just pin it or clamp it with some clips or something to make sure that that stays out of the way. Okay, let's bring this to the machine. Put it all hooped, slide it in. And remember, I'm going to pull up the file name that coordinates with the size of the clear blue tile. So this is the 6 by 10 tile. So I'm going to use the 6 by 10 file. Okay, now I'm using a navy thread so we can really see the quilting. It will stand out, not necessarily because it will be attractive. Before I start embroidering, I want to make sure that my needle drops right at that center dot. Remember the center dot that I drew right in the middle of the tile. So I'm going to drop my needle, and it's over maybe 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to raise it back up, and I'm just going to edit this, and I'm going to move it over just slightly so that that needle is going to drop right in that, on that dot. And there it is. It's perfect. So now I'm ready to start. All right, so we finished with that file. Now we're going to bring it back over here and we're going to unhoop this. Now, first of all, look at this quilting design. It's in a random pattern, and the idea is that the quilting fills that whole block in a random way so it doesn't look obvious and systematic. And our designers, they design these clear blue tile files so they're completely to scale no matter which size you choose. For example, if you have a 1-inch leaf on the design, that leaf is going to be 1 inch whether you choose the 2x2-inch design or the 9x14-inch design. So you really will not be able to tell where one started and one ended. So we're going to go ahead and unhoop this project. Okay. And now, just for fun, let's see what it would look like to hoop the 4x6 over here. I do have a bigger hoop, I don't need to. But we're gonna go right off the edge, and that's okay, because we have this extra 3 inches of our backing fabric here. So again, we're going to line up our hoop with these crosshairs, the top of the hoop being where the arrow is pointing. We're gonna line this up. That takes a little bit of finesse. And I'll tell you, a magnetic hoop is really delightful for this. All right, we've got this hooped. We're ready to stitch again. Now, because the top of my project goes off the edge of the side here, I'm just gonna put this tape just so that the arm, the needle doesn't catch that. Now, we've got a little bit of extra fabric here on the side, and this is where those slat bands come in handy. If we roll this up, we'll place a slat band just to keep that out of the way. And we're ready to go to the machine. Okay, I've got my file loaded, and again, I'm going to drop my needle. And it's ready to go. All right, let's see where we are. So to finish this, you would just continue to mark and hoop and stitch with your quilting designs all over your project. Now, so do you see that the scale is the same from this file to this file? And when you look at the back, you have an all over, all the way through, just like long arm quilting we do, goes through all through layers. I didn't have to use stabilizer because the fabric itself is the stabilizer. And it will look a lot cuter if you use a matching thread rather than this dark one. Let me show you some other projects that we've completed using the Perfectly Pieced system and both styles of quilting we've talked about. So here's a lap quilt that I made, and this is using the 8-inch block from Perfectly Pieced. And again, using this clear blue tile all over quilting technique, the same we just talked about, using it on a whole quilt. And you can see if you look on the back, we've got this all over background quilting that's pretty seamless. Another project that someone else on our team made is this amazing quilt jacket. Again, using the same block from Perfectly Pieced. And you can see these blocks right here have used the custom block by block quilting that we talked about right at the beginning. And then the rest of the jacket, the back and the sleeves, are using this clear blue tile all over quilting method. So she just quilted the fabric as if it were a whole cloth quilt and then cut that fabric to use in the pattern. Another project, these are all using the same block from Perfectly Pieced from 1 month of the subscription. Here's this beautiful table runner, and this has used the all over quilting method used in a block by block style on each block. So this is the 6-inch block, and we've used the 6-inch quilting design on each of those blocks. Here we've got a table topper, which also can be a pillow if you put a pillow form in it. And if you look close, this one has the block by block custom quilting that's perfect for that block. And you can see how fun it is when the blocks get stitched together, it actually completes the design. So that's a lot of fun. So now you can see the possibilities are really endless using Kimberbell's clear blue tiles and the background quilting that's provided with Perfectly Pieced. Any of your projects you can quilt in your own home. So you've got these 2 tiles as your sample tiles in your Perfectly Pieced doorstep box, but if you'd like to expand your collection, Kimberbell has 2 products, both the Essential set and the Expansion set. The Essential set has, let me check my numbers, 28 tiles total. Okay, it has 14 block tiles and 12 border tiles. And these are for use up to an 8x10 hoop size. This also includes 6 different quilting designs in all the sizes. Then if you have larger hoop, you may want to get the Clear Blue Tiles expansion set, and that's for the larger hoop sizes going up to all the way to 9x14 hoop. And between the two of those, you're covering every single brand of machine, every single file, and every single hoop size, again, to custom quilt any of your projects. So we've really just scratched the surface on how to use these Clear Blue tiles. Kimberbell has an amazing set of tutorials on their YouTube channel, more than 12 videos that will go into detail about hoop sizes, file sizes, crosshairs, and you name it. So go there if you want to get more information about Clear Blue tiles. Thanks again for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any upcoming tutorials and videos. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more machine embroidery content.